Harvard or in Cambridge, and I bring a typical person who's studying in Obafemi University, completely different in relation to it in terms of how hard that particular individual in Africa works over the other. I would love to say more, but I'll probably stop at this particular point in time. And do forgive me if I'm politically incorrect, by the way. I'm more than happy to take any lawsuits that might come. Sorry, I hope you could hear me because I'm potentially done. Okay, just an echo. Yes, I can now.
Sharing your views and also willing and being to listen to other people. So it made it very
Lanre or others, please, if you're there, please, could you do me a favor just to confirm? Because I honestly can't hear anything here.
Yeah, I can't hear either. Nene, we can't hear you.
Try.
Can you hear me now?
I heard that.
Yeah. Good. So I was just saying that there are no practical correctness here. We're just gonna accept frank speech, and have the grace to listen to everybody's perspective, because every perspective is valid. So you made some very important points. I'll just reiterate some of them. Scarcity or abundance of mindset. That is very important because that determines the lens from which you see the world. So if as Africans, we have an abundance mindset, we have a paradigm shift and have an abundance mindset, that will go a long way in helping us. Pride, we talked about pride of country, pride of continent. We're very proud. I know that Nigerians specifically are very proud. I don't know how we came about that, but somehow we're proud. But if as a continent, we are proud of being African versus proud of being Nigerian, it brings us all together. We're proud of being Black versus proud of being African. It brings us all together because as Blacks, we have Blacks all over the world, Caribbean, Africa, everywhere. So I like that point. And then also you talked about how long money stays or circulates in our community versus how long it circulates in other communities like the Jewish and the Indian. That is a very important point because that tells us that we don't support each other.
Yeah.
That tells us that. And then lack of collective trust. I'll tell you something, when I was growing up, my mom is going out and my dad, I'm like, oh, okay, mommy, can I come with you? She's like, yeah, go and wear your shoe. By the time I wear my shoes, I'm found, they're gone. So that actually did me that did me because trusting people was very difficult because of those kind of things. We laugh about it, but it's important. So thank you so much, Tom, for these very important points. I like to stand when I'm talking because when I sit, I get distracted. So Dr. Williams is having difficulty signing on because there's rainfall where he is. So it's affecting the signal. So I don't know, Dr. Williams, are you here now? Yeah, that's where he is. So that's the picture. So just to let you know that in addition to what he's dealing with, he really wanted to join us, but we'll wait and see if he'll be able to join. Next, we're going to go to Olarewaju Julie. I know that name because that's my husband's middle name. Olarewaju. So your question, your question, Lanre, is what role, and this is under the power of collective excellence, what role does cultural identity play in shaping behaviors that either empower or hinder progress in Black communities? Is that your question?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so please take it away. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so what role does cultural identity play in shaping behavior. So before I get into that, I'll quickly try to describe what cultural identity is. Culture, from my perspective as a behaviorist, is just the behavior of people. So, for example, if there are some people in Kenya behaving a certain way, the people outside of that environment would describe the way they behave as their culture. Um, People in Ethiopia, the things they do are described by them and other people as their culture. So our culture is just boils down to the behavior of the people. And the behavior of the people may be accepted in that environment. And in other environments, it may not be accepted because it's foreign to them. They don't understand it. And every group of people go about trying to uh, propagate their own culture on other people and they try to change them. And that's what colonialism really is all about. Take the Western culture, take it to Africa and put it on everybody and say, this is the new culture. Unfortunately, as we travel around the world, uh, some people would drop the culture that they grew with and try to embrace a new culture totally, forgetting where they're coming from. So at the point you have a disconnect between how people see themselves. Are you really African or you are Western or you are Indian or what have you? So if we understand what culture is as just the behavior of the people, now how does our cultural identity, that's where we grew up, or the family that we grew up, how does that shape the behavior that empowers? Now, one of the things that I see is maybe in the way we present ourselves. Some people do not want to say what their name is, so they adopt an English name just to belong. Some will change their name just to belong. Some parents would decide, I'm going to name my child another name so that he will have opportunities. So you see, we're seeing ourselves as not adequate if we present our true selves, and that is a problem. Now, one of the other things I see is in raising children. Our culture in Africa dictates how to raise children, inflict this impact discipline, and teach people to do things a certain way. And then when we come to maybe the Western world, the way they raise their children are different. Okay, the way they instill discipline is different. And so we have a clash, we're not able to move forward. And a lot of people are caught in between this, and it impacts how they move on in life. Another thing I'd like to touch on is the issue of religion. You know, the Western people came, gave us religion. We took the religion and we've taken it to levels that nobody can even understand. Even the Western people are wondering, hey, is that thing we sold to these people? And so the people that practice African religion are seen as the bad people now. We've taken it to the point where we allow religion to even slow us in our ability to move forward. And these are some of the things that I see shape whether we're going to be successful or not. As Africans, we're disciplined people, we're respectful people, we have a collectivist culture. We want to live together, we want to do well together. We are good people at heart. But like Tom was suggesting, um, and one of my friends, Dr. Lumide, will say that as Africans, it looks like we are individually brilliant. Look at one African is brilliant and this one is brilliant, but when we come together, we're just mediocres. So what can we do? How is our cultural heritage? How is our cultural identity causing these things? So I'll wrap up by saying that as we move on in this discussion, that as we talk about all these different things, we need to think about how we behave as individuals and how we behave in a group, because there's absolutely nothing we can do successfully if we do not engage in very specific behaviors that are geared towards achieving something. Thank you.
How we behave as individuals and how we behave as a group. Can you hear me online? Yeah?
Yes.
live as individuals, thank you, and how we behave as a group. I think that is so important. You dropped some amazing nuggets, like all of you. I mean, this panel, you guys have just, you're blowing me away. From Judge, Deputy Judge, to, yeah, it's amazing. Are you guys learning a lot?
Yes.
And those online, if you're learning a lot, let's see an emoji. Either a thumbs up emoji, a heart emoji. We're gonna ask questions, though, people who will be online. Don't think that you're just putting it on as background noise. So, so, I mean, there's just so much. Your name, how you change your name. I'll say to you that when I came to Canada, when I came to North America, I had an issue with my accent. I don't know, the youngsters in the room. Do you guys, you get that a lot, yeah. I had an issue with my accent, but I learned once when my mother-in-law went to the States and as she was crossing the border, the guy there said, you have an accent. And she talked to him and said, you also have an accent. Because where I come from, the way you speak is foreign to me. And I learned from that day to be proud of the way I speak. And I stopped trying to speak funny. I just speak the way I speak. And I find out that people understand us better when we're authentic. So thank you so much about the different comments. I want to ask, for those of you in the room, you can go out and grab a coffee and some snacks as we're going on, just, you know, to kind of put a break in the program. And if you're online, you can also have your own break. Have a coffee, have a cookie, agege bread, plantain chips. What do you eat in Jamaica?
Everything.
So, so let's
Festivals.
festivals, thank you.
Right.
What else? Other Caribbean countries, African countries.
Is
This
that-
guy. Please, what do you eat?
Right.
That's Nigeria. Asking Mr. Theodore. What do you eat? Meal dough. What is it? Cassava. Oh, wow.
You better call it young daughter to keep the secret.
That sounds like dinner.
Maybe next time when we're coming, to make it more fun, we bring a dish from our country that, yeah, we can do it like a potluck. We should think about that. Michael, what do you think? Okay.
So what happens to us online? We don't share in that.
Sorry, you know, please don't be angry. So we're going to go on to, so seriously, guys, you can go and get coffee. Thank you. There's snacks there. So let me go to the last, is Dr. Williams on? Has he come on yet? No? Yeah, I'm gonna go to Joanna first before Dr. Williams. I just wanted to find out. So Mademoiselle Johanna, our AHC Global Ambassador, all the way in Ethiopia. You have founded a private school, you have a private school in Ethiopia. So this question, and let me know if this is the right question. From a behavioral perspective, what psychological or social patterns hold us back from achieving true excellence, and how can we shift mindsets? You can answer this question, or you can tell us anything else you want to tell us within this theme of collective excellence. Johanna, oh my God, I love your community. Hi, can you hear us? Oh, she can hear us. Matthew.
Maybe. I mean,
It's Johanna. Y-O-H-A-N-N-E, not Johanna. What's your So, Johanna, can you hear us? You are looking so beautiful in your green jacket.
Oh yeah, I can hear you now. It's
Okay,
very
so did you hear the
sustainable.
question, or do you want to just talk about the power of collective excellence?
I'm sorry, I can't hear very well. The
Okay,
question
the
is,
question is, from a behavioral perspective, what psychological or social patterns hold us back from achieving true collective excellence? And how can we shift mindsets? You want to answer that question or just want to talk to us about connective excellence?
No, I can't. I can't hear you.
Oh, wow. Should I send you a text?
What are the questions on chat?
Yeah,
And should we go to answer?
let me send them.
No,
I
no,
think that would be a good idea. Just send Johanna a chat message to respond to.
Just send it by chat. Send
Okay.
it.
Efange will send it to you by chat, but you can just wing it. Can you hear me, Johanna? She can't.
Yes, I can't hear, but the echo, I can understand what you were saying.
Okay, Efange is going to send you a text by chat, so you can see the question.
Okay.
Okay. Meanwhile, I'm just gonna have my tea.
Is there a way that you can let the participants know that we see their questions and are going to be answered?
Just to the participants, we're going to get around to your questions in a minute. We'll get around to your questions in a minute. While we are waiting to sort out the tech issues and get the question across to you, Ghana. Mr. Larewaju spoke and he did raise some insightful topic about behavior, believing you are enough, and the issue with name and changing the name and all of that. I mean, I still get today people who argue with me that the correct pronunciation of my name is Ikena, not Ikena, because it starts with an I. The first encounter was actually in England when I was registering for my law degree. And the lady said, "Oh, how can you pronounce that as Ikena?" I said, "No, that's the pronunciation. It's Ikena." And I paused. Okay, but you have Ipswich. You don't pronounce that as Ipswich. And but it just goes to show that, you know, sometimes having that innate confidence in yourself, knowing that you're enough, is the way to go. And it reflects really everything that you do. And I think we have a question now ready for Anna to answer. If she can take a look at the chat. I believe I found that I sent the question across. Can you hear me? She already says she can hear us, but if you can. Just confirming that you sent it right. We have, I wonder if Dr. Williams is joining us. If you could hear us, maybe we can pivot to him and then come back to Uganda. Is Dr. Williams online? Let me check. Okay. But one thing we don't have is time, of course. So we're going to try to be doing what we can in the time that we have. So I'm just going to move a little bit to the second segment, and I will come back to our judge, Vanessa. Based on the second segment, I just want to ask you, what are some practical steps that Black professionals can take to break into leadership positions where systemic biases still exist?
Thank you. I think the most practical step that they can take is being excellent. Being excellent in what you do. It seems trite, it seems almost too simplistic. What's the dance? But as I was saying, I think excellence is the most important practical step because if we, through our education in this profession, if we get into the profession and we get into those spaces that we wouldn't otherwise have had, and then we don't do well, then it sets us back. And it doesn't set us back individually, it sets us back collectively. I'll give you an example. I was the first Black president of the Peel Law Association. That's the lawyers in Peel. Thank you for acknowledging that. But I was very mindful and very intentional that I had to be an excellent president because in the history of the organization, there had not been somebody who looks like me. So I did not want, one, for my role to just go unnoticed. And two, I did not want it to be non-impactful. Because otherwise, what would have been the point of 75 years of doing certain things a certain way? And I came along and just did it the same way. So in the year that I was president, I introduced Black History Month celebrations because that was never something that was done at the courthouse. And I made sure, Michael will tell you, when I have those celebrations, they're of the highest caliber because we want our Black members of staff, or Black lawyers, or Black judges to feel proud of coming to take part in the event. But we also want those who are not Black to see that when we do things, we do it well. And so now the event, it's in its third year, and it's being asked about for next year, right? They look forward to it. It is still the most largely attended event at the courthouse. But it is not just something for us to say, oh, we did a good job and pat ourselves on the back. It's to always see how we can be doing it better. And so I think the first thing is excellence. And the second thing is showing up. When Michael called me to participate today, I made sure I showed up. The persons online, the other panelists, they showed up because it's important for us to show up and collectively support each other. Too often in our community, it's the same issue that that was raised with the money that doesn't stay among us. Too often we have events, important events, and we don't show up for each other. We don't cheer each other on. We don't share the information. Somebody told me once that amongst the Black community, certainly here in Canada, we fail to apply for the many numerous scholarships that are available. One, it's because we don't educate ourselves about it. We don't know about the scholarships. Second is when we do know about it, we don't apply for them. Why do we not apply for them? We think we're not good enough. But we are more than good enough, but we just have to show up and present ourselves to be considered. Final thing I would want to say that impacts is educate ourselves about those things that we do not know. Right? Somebody, I think it's a Ghanaian proverb that said, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. And when I heard that, I said, wow, because it's true. Because if we're ignorant of what we can be doing and should be doing, then we fail to do it and the opportunity is lost. And a lost opportunity is a terrible thing. So I think if we're excellent in everything we do, if we show up
and we're impactful when we show up. And if we educate ourselves in our profession, then we will always be setting the standard and the bar high for ourselves and making a positive example for those who come after us.
Thank you so much. It's worth the time you took this. Thank you. We're gonna try, see if Luana is, ready now to, answer that question. Luana, if you can hear us, please take it away.
Is that the moderator directing that to Johanna, I think, right?
Yes, that was me.
Okay. I cannot see her online,
Oh, okay.
but I stand corrected.
I think she's, finance indicating.
Yeah.
Okay, but we'll move on again, hoping that we can have her back and ready. But Tom, since I think you were the one I just heard speaking, so,
Yeah, I knew you were going to put me on the firing squad. I should have kept my mouth shut.
yeah, okay, so, social movement like Black Lives Matter have shown the power of mobilization. Now, the question is, how do we sustain long-term behavioral policy change beyond moments of crisis, beyond having George Floyd being killed like a dog, so to say, in our public eyes? How do we sustain that on a long-term basis, just beyond those moments of crisis?
Okay, thanks for the question. Well, I think the George Floyd's unfortunate and sad incident and the murder there that encircled the globe, we only knew that as a result of media and a result of television. And it does one thing with us, especially with us Black people. It ignites that anger, that emotional element in terms of what one has been crying for several centuries, 400 years or so. It brings back that anger and that motivation, if I can use that word, and it ignites that passion. But the problem and the challenges that one faces is that that passion is only sustained for a short, medium time period. The moment media moves on to the next news, it dies out. And the way I see that incident itself, and if I can liken it to other incidents like the Me Too movement, or probably if I come home more to Africa, the incident with the Arab Spring, that passion is there. It's showed all over the world. But what happens afterwards? What you're waiting for is change. And that change needs to come with A, political will to actually have that change, and then B, as a lawyer, that policy change from a governmental level, from a macro position to a micro position. It doesn't happen, and it doesn't happen because people either don't have interest in terms of continuity, or there's that emotional exhaustion as a result of, okay, it's the one and the same, it's going to happen again, let's move on, that kind of situation, or institutional resistance. And by institutional resistance, I'm probably referring to legal, economical, or political will, as I've mentioned. If I should take a step back and see where that change actually works, if you remember the civil rights movement, I can't remember the year, I think 1964 or thereabouts, and then the voters' rights itself, that came as a result of back in the days with regards Dr. Martin Luther King and having the peaceful rally. You can liken that peaceful rally to India with Mahatma Gandhi. Same situation. The enlightened emotional discord and the fact that this is what's happening, but they transition that into actually meaningful policies over time when they go through to government make the change, pass that into law. That's what happened with the civil rights movement. You can argue whether or not we still have that in the United States or you still have that in certain African countries. But the reason I'm bringing all this thing up is to basically state why we do not have change in a certain way. I'm a passionate person when it comes to art. And if I should take African art, which I think is absolutely outstanding and interesting, we don't sell that. We don't publicize that as well as the other arts in the Western worlds, or when you see the paintings on Bach and you see the paintings on Monet and all that, and how they're actually advertised out, and you see them in the hundreds of millions. You look at African art, it's now starting to come up. But what happens when you go to a museum when I go to the British Museum and I see African arts and I see the mask or of Benin culture or Ife culture or even Northern Africa, Northern Nigeria culture where I grew up in Kanu and in Abuja, you don't see that per se in museums in our local areas. You have to go to a Western place. For Egyptians, you have to go to see the bust of Nefertiti in Berlin. You have to go to the British Museum to see certain coffins of pharaohs that were 2,000, 3,000 years old. And you ask yourself, why? Why is it that we can't go to the country of origin itself? It's the same thing that goes back history with regards, if some of us remember the Berlin Convention way back in 1800s, sorry, in the 1900s, 1884 and co, where certain people or certain countries till today are still benefiting from that particular edict and law and conventional practice and treaties. Because certain people decide to carve up Africa for their own uses, and we still to today have it. It's the same situation that's creating problems with regards to social movement where we in our own continent cannot move to certain countries. We have to go through visa. But the European Union is able to create that joint situation where people move. I sort of stavel at the point, and that's why this topic is so topical to me, because and it's so interesting because that success factor with regards to social movement comes as a result of change, legislative, regulatory change, not just at national level, but at international level. And I'll probably summarize that with, again, I'll unfortunately use my wife. She's not here. She's 2 floors down, so she can't hear me. The Jewish side of things, the anti-Semitic position, you won't believe it that after Second World War, there are still funds and there are still organizations that are still chasing generational movement of people who've committed atrocities during the Second World War. They still keep that live. But we in Africa, we don't potentially have that where we're able to chase that. It's the same thing with art, restitution. And for those who love movies, I'll probably recommend a movie, if I can remember it. I think it's The Woman in Gold. If you watch that movie, very powerful movie, you will see where a family, which you will probably see the painting in New York, and it's Block Bauer, and I think is the lady in gold in there. Painting owned by a very wealthy Jewish family, and when the Nazis went there, they collected that art away from their house, and it took them 80 years before they were able to find that art back, 60 to 80 years before they were able to find that art back. That continuism in terms of actually wanting to dedicate to make sure that change lands was what resulted in a law that resulted to all stolen art from the Nazis being sent back. And that's what we have with regards to restitution law in there. Let's try to see how that is done for Africa. Let's try to see how that is done in relation to our art, in relation to our history, in relation to our culture, in relation to our food, in relation to our history. How many people go to British schools and ask them, how many of you know culture and history with regards the Second World War and the Nazis? You will see many hands up. How many of you know about the slave trade? You will rarely see people put their hands up because we don't tell that side of the story. And I'll end with that side of the story, a movie that really made me proud as being an African, even though it was comical and from Marvel Comics. And that has to do with Wakanda and with Black Panther. You will see the pride in wanting to be African because of that collectivism, where you see South African, you see Kenyan, you see Nigerian, you see Ghanaian culture embroiled into one, and the world stood silent for a period when that movie made history. I'll end with that to say we can actually do this. We just need change through a political will that is sustainable over time, where we can control our continent and we can control our minerals. I could go on with regards to our mineral resources. Why is the price of cocoa monitored in the United States and in UK? Why is it that we can't monitor that price in itself? I can go on and on and on with this. So on that point, I will keep quiet because I've been told to keep quiet 2-3 minutes is my time period. But I can go on. Did you hear me, by the way? Sorry.
Did you girls clap for you?
No, everybody was quiet. That's why I was wondering. I'm just probably bragging. Oh, I can see them, but sorry for being passionate. But I am probably I'll take the sorry back. But I'm very passionate about Africa.
Idris is one of the participants is asking a question. just ask your questions in the chat and then we'll come to it shortly. But building on Tom's answer, Mr. Olaruwaju, I'm just going to ask you, how can behavioral science be used to dismantle deeply ingrained biases within institutions that disproportionately impact Black lives and Black individuals?
Is that for me?
That is for you, sir, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, so the comments that Tom made are very, very deep, and I think we can do a whole lot. However, the man that is hungry does not think about going to fight about things, rights and all of that. And so when there are so many things that we can do, and those things can be achieved, again, drilling back down to the behavior of each individual. If there is need to advocate for somebody, and nobody takes a step to act, to behave, it's not going to happen. The African Heritage Center is saying, hey guys, let's come together. Let's build a center together. It's a very noble idea. We're going to have the museum. We're going to have the sports complex. We're going to have all of this. Beautiful. No behavior after that. It's not going to happen. So how can we, as a people, dismantle deeply ingrained biases? What really does that mean, deeply ingrained biases? There are so many of us who cannot even identify that that's a bias. If somebody is saying to me that my name is too long, that's a bias. And if I don't say anything about it, the person just learns that, you know, when you see the next person whose name is Oluwadominino, would say to that person again, hey, your name is too long. And then that person will start looking for a way to reduce the name so that that person that is biased is going to feel comfortable. And that way we keep going, reinforcing people that are biased to continue to be biased. So we need to educate ourselves. Your name is your name. Your skin is your skin. Don't bleach it. Your accent is your accent. The reason why you have an accent is because you have more than one language. You're trying to speak another language. So having an accent is in fact a strength. If I meet a fellow Canadian who has no accent, it means that that person only speaks one language and in the environment that he is. So when people come with those biases, sometimes we don't even know them. And we need to, as specific individuals, begin to think about what those biases are. When we encounter them, what are we going to do? Because if you don't do anything, the person that just said something to you or did something to you is going to repeat it to another person, and they will get stronger every day, each conversation after conversation. And the other thing that I'd like us to think about is the fact that it seems like, sorry to say, Africans are short-sighted in terms of what we want to achieve. We achieve a little and then we celebrate that little and that's it. There's no long-term plan. There's no succession plan of how this is going to happen. What are my children going to do? Do they even know about African culture? Do they know where we're from? Do they know the history? If they don't know and they're trying to be like the other people, then we're losing. We're losing a whole lot. And so thinking about the next steps, how to dismantle these deeply ingrained biases, we must begin to educate ourselves. And not just that, we need to begin to take steps, one person at a time. one organization at a time, and move things from just policies to practices. Thank you.
We just want to make sure you had us clap for you, right? Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Just an update, Johanna is not able to join us. Johanna actually, tried joining us at a great personal sacrifice. She's not well. But, I don't think she can continue to make it. So, we're great, with, Mr. Larry Waju, Tom and Vanessa, who are giving us real nuggets with their answers. And again, talking about accents, try speaking another language. You see that everyone actually has an accent, right? You only have it because we're trying to speak someone else's language. Try speaking ours. You see, you also have that. So, okay, moving on.
So I think at this stage, we're gonna take some of the questions. So we had said we'd be interactive, but with all the technology and stuff going on. So let us take some questions from. How do we get the questions online? Virtual questions. Is it in the chat? Oh, okay.
How about you mentioned the person who asked the question, let him speak up and ask it. Idris. Okay, Idris, we can take your question. If you can unmute yourself and just ask your question now.
Yeah, thank you guys. Great dialogue, if I may ask. I did post a few questions. I think one of them was, how would any one of you can answer this question, activate Nigerians in diaspora to partake in the social consciousness or collective effort that would enhance our community? Attached to that would be, do you think we as a people can succeed on our own without integrating our efforts with the Black diaspora?
Thank you for that question. Let me take it to
Hello. That's okay. I'm not certain that I can answer the question in a fulsome way, so maybe Tom and Lanre will answer in a fulsome way. But I did want to say one thing that I've always admired and celebrated about Nigerians is a name. There's the power of the name. Now, I have several Nigerian friends who are named Blessing and Divine and Majesty. You can't have those kind of names and not be proud of them and not walk a little taller and speak a little stronger. So just by being in association with them, in conversations with them, I'm also motivated and inspired just by the name. So that would be my limited contribution, because I think this question is probably for a Nigerian.
It's so interesting that you say that. And not meaning to put us on the spot, but sometimes some of us will hear that somebody's name is Majesty or Blessing, and we make fun of it. So we need to be intentional in recognizing the beauty of those names. Thank you for bringing that up.
So now,
Can I?
before I go to Tom. Oh, okay, Tom, go ahead.
Yes, it's quite an interesting topic asked by the gentleman. If I remember the name, was that Idris?
It was.
Could Idris repeat? So there are two questions. So rather than being greedy, I'll leave one for my able Lanre. I'll pick the easier one, which was the second one. Could the gentleman repeat that second question so that I answer that correctly?
The second question has to do with, like you guys have said, we all see this, individually was successful,
Yeah.
collectively were an abysmal failure. Do
Yes.
you think we can succeed? Do you think we can succeed as a community without a strong alliance with the rest of the Black diaspora?
And the answer to that will be yes, but I'll put a caveat. I'm going to be answering that question based on my own professional standing as a barrister and a solicitor and running a consultancy firm. And I'll give a classic example, Idris. So I believe we as a continent can do anything collectively, individually. As a country, Nigeria, I'll give a classic example by way of an experience that's just recently happened in my profession, and that is compliance, KYC. It's huge in the banking community. It's a multi-billion-dollar enterprise that India has completely encircled, where banks like Citi, Goldman Sachs, HSBC outsource this position over to countries like India and Pakistan because of cheap labor, because of the time zone, and then because of reliability. I have tried endlessly to try to get that to Lagos and to Abuja, where we have students in there in abundance who do not have jobs, who are extremely qualified, in fact, overqualified, who do not have an opportunity, who have very good English. With all due respect, I'm not being racial with this comment, a lot better than the Indians in terms of understanding them on the phone. And then also the fact that that intellectual capability is there. We as a nation do not give them that opportunity because of the tag, the negative adverse media tag that Nigeria has. Nigeria, in my profession, is considered high risk. In fact, serious high risk because of corruption. Because of corruption. I'm hearing an echo, Idris. Can you hear me? Is it okay? Okay. So because of corruption, if things were to change and Africa and especially Nigeria is seen in the world as a country where you could do business with, the opportunities are endless because these countries will be more than happy to move their request for business in compliance to an African country that is formerly colonized, who has the standard language as English, who has a time zone that is convenient for the world, GMT time zone, and reliability in terms of us. We are the ones that work 24/7 as Nigerians. A typical English person will work 9 to 5 and will not continue after that. A typical French or Italian, and I'm saying this because I have people who work for me from those countries, will work 9 till 10, will have a tea break for 2 hours, we'll come back to work for 1 hour, we'll have another tea break for another 2 hours and be ready to go home at that. We are in our culture and in our upbringing and our genetics, we're ingrained to succeed. Flip the coin the other way around. What we know with Nigerian in terms of success is the negative side. Hush puppy, classic example. This is my profession. We were part and parcel of, although I can say this officially now, part and parcel of the investigative sort of reporting bit in Dubai when this chap was arrested. The ingenuity of how this guy and his entourage were able to con people and companies. Flip that ideology to the positive side of work in relation to designing software for banks to be able to catch criminals. If you watch the movie Catch Me If You Can, some of you remember that particular individual flipped his mindset to the positive side where he started advising FBI and others. We have tons of this in Africa and in Nigeria. So for me, it's the opportunity. It's the fact that we can do it on our own if we change the mindset of the way the world views us. Collectively as Africa, we can even change it even exponentially. Why? Because that continent holds 65 to 70% of the world's natural resources. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to tell you something is bad in the continent that is the poorest in the world. Look at it from space. It's the only continent that is not well lit from space. Why? And it's the continent that has 70% of the world's natural resources because other people make it not want to work. I presented to the G20 Viadrina conference in Germany in Hamburg in 2017. Thankfully, somebody couldn't present and I came in as a substitute. I did not have any papers. Like right now, I'm not reading from any text or anything. It comes from here completely. I presented there and it was stone silence because I told them the truth. I said corruption. The topic was corruption in Africa and integrity of compliance in Africa. I said corruption does not stem from Africa. Corruption stems from a Western civilization mandate where it allows corruption to thrive because it has its own selfish interests in economic interests and political and socio-political, geopolitical willpower in that continent. I use Democratic Republic of Congo as an example, and I use Nigeria as an example. And I use the fact of several elements in there, cassiterite, tantalite, and all the mineral resources you can see in that continent. Why is that country the poorest in the world? And nobody could explain it to me, but I gave them an explanation because you in the West want it to be that way so that you can thrive on the price of a certain product and charge 10 times the volume. Why is it that we produce cashew nuts in Nigeria and we don't fabricate, or we don't, let me use the word, refine it in a certain way? We have to take it to another country and refine it and charge 7-10 times the price. So if our mindset is right, we can change society individually within us as a country. We do not need other countries. Economics is what rules the world. If you change that mindset in Africa and we start becoming the controller of our mineral resources and charging the price out to the people in the West, they will sit up and they will watch. Again, I take you back to the movie. Last point in 30 seconds, I take you back to Black Panther. What was it? Was it vibranium they had? Only country there that had that particular bit, but they were able to control that. People will sit up when they start seeing that we're paying attention to our mineral resources and we're asking the correct price for them. That's my submission on this.
So Tom, on the geopolitical level, you are right, but can you flip it to a localized form based on the areas that we are residing in the West? Say for those who live in Canada or those who live in the States or in England.
Okay, so I get your point, Idris.
That's what I meant with.
So in terms of paying back to society, going back and changing where society is in Nigeria. So us here,
No,
how do we get the diaspora moving to be able to support Africa? Go on.
In terms of collective success in the West, in the various countries in which we reside, on the geopolitical level, you are right with your assertion. But if you flip it to where we reside, individually, we tend to succeed. Collectively, can we succeed without aligning our effort with the rest of the diaspora?
I get your point.
Understanding that we make a very minute, we constitute a very small number in the various states or countries we reside in.
I get your point, and that's okay. I get your point, and that's where potentially that flip has to happen, in the sense that that's what the Indians do very well in, that's what the Jews do very well in, but that's not what we do very well in, and that potentially needs to change in relation to us actually, your brother's keeper situation and the mentality of actually helping ours, but also making sure that we help those, not just for the sake of he's my brother, he's my sister, but actually that intellectual mindset of actually being better than a particular person on the other side, and hiring that resources and making sure that entrepreneurial spirit is in that individual, because then it becomes a multiplier. You hire me, I hire 10 more people, those 10 more people hire 100 more people, and it grows. And that's where I say economics is probably the solution to it, where we're able to support one another. And it's an excellent question, Idris. I'm sorry I didn't get that spin of it, but I hope the other spin also probably supplements it as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Idris, for that thought-provoking question. There's Vivian online. Vivian, could you ask your question or comment or observation? Then unmute yourself and speak up.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope those who are online can hear me clearly. For those here in the audience, thank you so much for making it out in this incredible rainstorm that we've got going on. My name is Marsha Bennett, and I am the Public Relations Director for the African Heritage Center here in Ontario. I am excited and just really happy to share this vision with all of you. We have really worked tirelessly to bring, talks like this together so that we can connect. We can get everyone together. Just really quickly, I want to introduce you guys to our website. Please go to the website, AfricanHeritageCenter.org, and you can see the vision that we are trying to establish. Building an actual museum here in Ontario to, join our peoples together. So people from the continent, people of the diaspora. And when I say people of the diaspora, I also mean the Caribbean countries and so on. I am from Jamaica, and this vision for me is just as important as it would be for anyone else who is actually from the continent. And so it's important for us to come together, learn from each other, and work together so that we can raise this vision from the ground. I would like to give a warm thank you and welcome to Mr. Tom Brown, who has been an immense support, who has made a great contribution to us. We thank you so much, Mr. Brown, for your contribution, because with that, we know that you truly believe in this vision and you want to see it succeed. And as you stated before, we need to take the necessary steps to be able to get this up and running and off the ground. So I do thank you. I invite you all of you here in studio, as well as those online, to please go to our website, go to our social media like LinkedIn. We have a LinkedIn sites. If Matthew and Ifangi could help me out and put it in the chat, please, that would be wonderful. We are also on Instagram, so please follow us, please share. You will be able to see the vision that we have. We have a whole video describing what it is that the African Heritage Center will look like. And so we ask you for your support. We cannot do this just by having presentations and by talking. We need funds. And we do thank you, Mr. Tom Brown. We thank everyone who has participated in making a donation, but please consider it like tithing. Every Sunday you go to church and you make a tithe. Maybe once a month you can tithe to the African Heritage Center, but we need your support, and we're asking for you to do your best and to share the vision. We cannot do it by ourselves. Our board members is just not enough to get this word to the place that it needs to go. So once again, I thank you all. Thank you so much to Mr. Michael DeBoa for this wonderful vision and for being obedient to the voice and bringing it all to us. Thank you so much.
I think we have a question from one of the members here.
Yes, I'm Evelyn Alcohol, and I'm from Stewart Memorial Church, which is one of the oldest Black African Canadian, African American, it was established by African Americans who came here along the Underground Railroad. And I would like to say that I hope that your endeavors are inclusive enough to go back to, when we first stepped foot on this continent. We've drawn a great deal of wealth intellectually, as well as, should I say, like physically to the people of this country. We haven't benefited to the degree in which we've contributed. However, I would sincerely hope that that history is also included in what you're planning on building, because I think that that's where the roots are for here.
Absolutely, that's a wonderful question, and I was looking back on that. That is exactly what it is what we're trying to do. This vision, this museum is not just for Africans of the continent, as I stated before. It is for every African descendant. That means if you are an African American, if you are a Black person from any Caribbean country, anywhere around the world, as long as you identify as a Black person, and we can see that you are a Black person, then obviously we welcome you into this organization, and we want you to feel welcomed. We want to learn not just from individual African countries, but we want to learn from the Caribbean, we want to learn from the US, anywhere where our Blacks are coming from. We want to be able to exchange our ideas, our histories, and learn from each other, and bring that collective, bring our collective ideas and so on together so that we can really make that change that was talked about earlier, right? So,
Yeah, so the importance for me is for us who came from that older history, we struggle to regain our African identity because we've had to lose a lot of it in order to survive. And we've passed those same survival skills along to generations. You can tell by the way I speak that my parents were insisting that I sounded, I'll say like cultured English. So when I apply for jobs on the phone and I show up and the voice and the skin don't match, there's great consternation. So yes, we struggle to get back to our origins.
yes.
I'd love to know where I came from.
So
I think Lanre and I are agreeing to the lovely lady's point in there. I can see Lanre nodding because I can nod and I can say kudos to the lovely lady there. I don't know the name, but I think I can say at a distance. It's exactly, if I may, in 30 seconds, just say something. It's the same thing with me experiencing here. The lady's name is
Evelyn,
Evelyn. Honestly, kudos to you because I'll give you in 30 seconds an example with myself. I'm mixed race, as I've told you, but I still have racism here, and boy, is it a beauty here in the United Kingdom. It's not told to your face, it's told behind you, but you can sense it. And after much struggle over 24 years, it took my wife in the same profession 6 years to make a name to the top level. It took me 24 years to do so. And we joke around it, but she can sense it. She gradually does sense this racism, but it's opaque to them. And when I have to sign a multi-million-pound contract, I don't go myself because I know I'll never get that in the pitching modes. With all due respect, I send the CEO or the CFO who are British to go in there, get the deal, and then when it comes to signing, I come in there to the room and sign. And you can see their faces when that contract is being signed. They maintain the proper decorum, but you know you will never get that had you gone in through the normal route. So I totally get that. It's the same thing with language, it's the same thing with names, and Lanre has mentioned it. Mo Farah, the full name is Mohammed Farah. Why is he not called Mohammed? Why is he called Mo? Because it suits the position. It's something that has to change. And I think it will change through economics, through us controlling the means to production. That's what gets people's attention. Sorry, I've surpassed 30 seconds.
yeah, thank you so much. So her name is Evelyn Auchinvole, Auchinvole. This is Scottish.
I'm married.
Scottish.
My husband is Scottish, so like you,
So Lanre.
Scottish too.
There you go, Tom.
I'm not a Scottish.
Yeah, so, yeah, so, thank you for those perspectives, very valid, very, very valid, and I think it's part of what we need to, kind of imbibe in our children on the importance of knowing their history. I brought a book today here by Dr. Sandler, I think, Pam Sandler. Dr. Rosemary Sandler, sorry, and it's the history of What's
It was
it?
pretty.
Yeah. It's the history of, so I went to an event a couple of weeks ago where she spoke, and it's a kid's book of Black history in Canada. I bring this up because I mean, I don't know her, I just met her that day, but I think this is very important for us to buy. She was the lady who started the fight to have Black History Month, and she moved it on to Jean Augustine to have it passed in the House. So her name is Dr. Rosemary Sadler. And this is the kids' book, Sadler, Sadlier, the kids' book of Black history in Canada. I say this to your point, where we need to kind of go back, we need to circle back to who we really are. So there's somebody online who wants to ask a question. However, Dr. Sola Anjola also has a question. So I don't know, do we go to you first or do we go to the lady first? Okay, let's go to Vivian. So Vivian, can you unmute and ask your question, please? Vivian? Vivian, are you there? Okay, in the interest of time, we'll go to Dr. Anjola and then come back to you, Vivian. Just hang on. Oh my goodness, what's your name? Farida, you are a very, very confident young lady, Farida, so can you come give it to Dr. Anjola? Because you're there. She has told me you're there. Nice.
Her dress, a beautiful dress. Oh,
Thank you very much. And thank you to the panelists. And it's been a very insightful conversation. And I've learned a lot. I think what I'm going to say is very much more than comments, just to address what the lady said earlier. The unfortunate thing is that most of us are economic migrants. And if we understand that, then we'll understand that the first thing for us is survival. So that's pretty much handicaps us. Like it's like you're struggling against the tide because you have to be 4 steps ahead to actually, I mean, speaking from experience, I pretty much traveled the entire continent, from Nigeria to the UK to Ireland, Canada. And I remember there was a time it took me up to 2 years to get a job, even though I had a qualification. The people who worked there, you have to consider a British national, then EU national before you consider anyone else. Even though I had more qualification, you would rather employ a Latvian and then employ an interpreter for the same role that I could, pretty much make. At that point, I questioned where Commonwealth came from, in Nigeria, a member of Commonwealth in the UK, yes, I couldn't get a job. Someone who was just a member of the EU but couldn't speak English, get a job strictly by being EU, right? Not about the qualification. So when it comes to people adapting, changing, trying to find their name, so to say, sorry, right? People have turned their names from Sharon to Sean. Someone actually introduced himself to me as Luca. And no one in this room would guess what the real name was. Like, this is a Yoruba name. But no, it was Olukayode. Right? And these are all survival strategies, right? And someone like Tom, with all the qualifications, would walk into any job, like easily, but yet still struggle, right? So it's unfortunate, but the bottom line is we have to find a way of circumventing that, but you have to face that struggle. You have to face that period of you know, touch us, so to say, before you find your feet and then begin to, you know, navigate your way in a more seamless, even at the at the top of your career, you still face these issues. Like you still face them because to the majority of them, you know, every nationality, you're an outsider. It doesn't matter how much of you know how much qualification you got or what passport you hold. There's different tiers to citizenship. So still struggle. But really all together. And that's why I really believe in this idea of the Heritage Center. I want my daughter to grow up identifying with her roots, knowing that, you know, being Black is beautiful, you know, being Nigerian is very much.
Dr. Shola Anjola and his amazing daughter. Our future. Yes, it's our future. She can speak up. She can come dressed in what she's wearing and her hair. And it's a thing of pride. So thank you so much. So, but is she on the line now?
Vivian, if you're on the line, if you're ready, you can please unmute yourself and ask your question. Someone asked that question, and I'm just gonna open myself. That will be to Larry and then Vanessa. So whether myth or true, it appears that sometimes within our community find these barriers and kind of magnify our differences and give us reasons to hate each other, or sometimes healthy competition. You know, you have the myths of something like, well, Jamaicans and Nigerians don't get on well. But then also there's a reality of, you know, xenophobia in South Africa. It's usually targeted against fellow Africans. So the question there is, what can we really do to find common grounds, to find ways to magnify the things that unite us while diminishing the things that separate?
Yeah, thank you. So again, from a behavioral perspective, before we go into trying to solve a problem, we try to identify the cause. Because in understanding the cause, then we can address the issue. So if you have two Africans, one from Ghana maybe, and the other one from Kenya, and they're button heads, what's the issue? What is the issue? Sometimes it may just boil down to the fact that they are competing for the same resources. Sometimes some people see themselves as being unfair. So maybe in my organization, for example, I'm looking to hire somebody, and I have somebody from Nigeria and the other one from Ethiopia. They're both Black for the same position, and I am Nigerian. Naturally, I'm biased against the Ethiopian because there is this Nigerian that is there, and I want to hire. Now, as a professional, I have to think about what is best for my organization. Who is qualified for this position? Who is going to do the most good for this organization? The way I would hire is go straight that way. Okay, these two people, they're now here, and I need to make that decision. I'm going to think about what's best for my organization. I'm going to move away from where I'm from. If I'm not thinking professionally, then I'm going to say, oh, this is my brother, and I'm going to take him on. He's Nigerian, even though he's not going to contribute to the organization. Okay, so the person who is not hired because they're not from my country is going to feel really bad, and it's going to go ahead and start saying things about me and about the organization, about other African who are not treating other Africans right, and all of that. So there's no one answer to say, hey, this is what's going on. But we have to get back, take a step back from what is the situation and say, what is going on here? Why is this problem here? And how can I address it? I can share with you, in my organization, we have over 300 employees, and all the people that are working in admin are Africans. Okay. And I have other Africans come to me and say, why do you have so many Black people here? Okay. From the same culture, they say, why do you, and some will say, how do you even cope with our people? How are you doing it? So valid questions, but if amongst ourselves we're not able to work together, then who is going to trust us to work with us? So again, it comes back to one individual at a time. What is going to be my decision as to how to navigate the next thing? I'm going for an interview. I'm preparing. I'm going to prepare. I think the deputy judge was saying, be your best. Prepare, be your best, go. If you get it, you get it. If you don't get it, well, you keep trying. But the problem of humanity and our behaviors and how we navigate is not a one size fit all thing. It has to be individualized. It has to be this country and that country. It has to be this organization and that organization, and it has to be between two individuals. I don't know if that answers it. Maybe it's a non-answer, but I don't want to say something that you would say, hey, that's the answer or that's not the answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let's clap for him. I just want to add to this question and speak about my experience. It's one thing to say, how do we bridge that gap? And we started this conversation here at the African Heritage Center. It's about being intentional. I've been to about 6 Caribbean nations. Now, I don't know if my African brothers have gone that way, or if our Caribbean brothers have also gone the other way. But we have to be intentional. If I were to tell my Jamaican friends that I've been to 3 Miles, I've been to Spanish Town, they look at me in a different way, like, you're going deep, bro. You know, it's like saying to where else have I been? I've been to Lusaka in Zambia. You know, and I say I mentioned a particular place in that area, the particular food. It looks like the person is very, very comfortable because you've gone deep. And so I encourage our people, you know, I've lived in, this is my 3rd continent, and I have a lot of Caribbean friends. In fact, sometimes like with my Yadi nature, my Yaman and Wagwan and all the stuff that I've learned from not just the Caribbean and not just Jamaica, but Tobago, Grenada, Bahamas, you know, we have to be intentional about wanting to love each other and understanding each other. And it's not so much as, you know, one person in the justice system, and you know him, I won't mention his name, they say things like it's lonely at the top because it's just him or 2 people, you know. And I make this joke when our people say, Michael, let's go for tea. I go like, we don't do tea, we do food. Can we go for food? And to the point that Tom has talked about, like Larry has talked about, it has to be intentional. We have to want to sit down. We have to want to do things with each other. We have to be able to raise, and this is what started this vision for me. That those gaps, and to what our sister said today, we hope to have a DNA Ancestry Center, the African Heritage Center, where our people can go and trace back their roots to where they're coming from. You know, Tom talked about the Black Panther, and it gives you a vision of how Africa and the Caribbean should be. You know, I don't know about you guys, 3 or 4 weeks ago when we had that storm, and I was thinking, or the snow, you know how bad the snow was? I was thinking, oh God, I should go back to Africa. But we also need our African leaders to make Africa invitable, you know, amenable for our people to want to go back. You know, Ghana started a place of return for African people, and they've actually implemented that. Other African countries should. And that's why in the African Heritage Center, we'll be having discussions about peace. We'll be having discussions about development in Africa. The things that will make our people come back. Not when you're afraid to go because you think you're going to get killed. Or that you don't have infrastructure, you don't have power in the 21st century. You know, people are not able to log in. They have network issues that we don't think of here. We can do better. And it starts with having this conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Can I make a quick point, please?
Please go ahead.
Okay, so a good thing, Emeka, your point there. I was just wondering, because the trying to align ourselves with other brothers is really, really very important, and it just breaks the ice. I had a visit from somebody from the Canada Revenue Agency for an audit for our organization, and he came and he said, "Oh, I'm from the Kids," and I'm like, "The Kids? What's that?" He said, "Oh, you don't know where that is?" I said, "No." He said, "Oh, it's a small island, the Kitts and Nevis," and I said, "Oh, I don't know," and after that, I don't know. It seemed like things just he wasn't unnice, but there was just something that I could sense around him that how can this guy not know where I'm from, you know? And it's a country, it's anyway, so the point is we don't know enough about ourselves. And I think one of the visions of the African Heritage Center is to bring about an understanding of who we are. So, like I've been advocating since we started, that policies are good and visions are good, but what is the action, the behavior that we're going to take? So, I'm challenging the AHC and members of the various countries that make the African and the Caribbean community that do a write-up about your country, about where you're from, and maybe the members of the leadership of the AHC can put it on the website. It is beginning to build that museum that is going to happen in the future, but we can start a museum today by putting information about those countries that make up who we are on that website. And you can go there, click on it, and you'll see, oh, this is this country and that country. This is their food. This is how they get married. This is how they celebrate birthdays and all of that fun stuff. We can learn about each other without waiting to how many years' time that we're going to build that place, to starting right now. Thank you.
There's Charles online. Charles, can you unmute and ask your question? Charles, you can unmute and ask your question, please. Charles, and then
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead, Charles.
Oh, yes, I was like, thank you for every presenter who is presenting what we can do as Africans so that we can move forward. I was a bit interested to know how religious fanatism can act as an hindrance for us as Africans to develop. That was my interest. Maybe we can dig on that and see how we can get also rid of that so that we can come together and develop. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. So are you asking how we can stop fanaticism or how we can use religion to bring us together? I'm not quite sure what the question was.
Oh, yeah. How we can get rid of that fanatism? For me, I see it as a problem. So I don't. How can we get rid of it, and how we can move forward? Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
Thank you for the question. That's a great question. I went to. Okay, I'll give an example. Nigeria is made up of north, east, west, and south. I'm from the south, but I schooled in the north. My closest friends are from the north. We have a lot of Muslims so Nigeria is 50%, I think it's almost 50%, well, not 50%, because we have the traditional.
45 and traditional.
45, yeah.
Yeah.
Christian to Christianity versus Islam. I think in what people have been saying today is everybody has talked about intentionality. So in every religion, there are fanatics, but the fanatics don't make the majority of people in that religion. So like I said, my closest friends are Muslims. Because I went to school in the north, I know them. Yeah. And my father was born in the north, my mother as well. So my point is, I don't know that it's a case of getting rid of fanaticism, but more a case of us being intentional not to have those biases. Because whether we like it or not, so we talk about ourselves as a community, but even within the community, we have biases, and even with outsiders, we have biases. When I mean outsiders, I mean people that are not within our community. So I think at the end of the day, it's about intentionality. Are you looking at the person versus are you seeing the person through the lens of religion or tribe or region or race? So I think for the world to be a better place, and it may sound kumbaya, but I think we need to check ourselves. My son always checks me because sometimes I say things like, oh my God, look at this driver, the person must be from here. And he's like, what? You are preaching, yeah, you are preaching against anti-Black racism, and then you're saying this. So I am very intentional now. When I see people, I have to check myself to say, wait a minute, no, this is a human being, and this is not a religious fanatic or somebody from this part of the world or tribe or whatever it is. So I think that is a short answer to your question. We have a question. Sorry, go on. Okay, yeah, Tom.
I'll chip into that because it's actually perimaterial to personal experience. Absolutely spot on with that statement. I didn't even know the lovely madame there schooled in the north. So even with the English name Tom Brown, I was born in Ibadan, and 3 months after that in Ayatollah Hospital, I grew up in Kano State, which is a Muslim north. The gentleman, with all due respect, I love cultures, religion, and accent. I'm pretty sure is northern, and with all due respect, I may be wrong. I grew up in Kanu from 1973 till I left in 1999. And that is a Muslim north part, Konk Muslim north. If you remember the days of the Danish cartoon character or the Salman Rushdie position where he wrote the book Satanic Verses, in the West, in London, when you have revolt against that, it's a peaceful rally that's done in Hyde Park and all that back in the days. In Nigeria, in Kano, where I grew up, and with areas like Sabongeri, some people know the area and all that, it was death as a result of that because of how they took the religion so strictly. So a lot of people lost their lives. Now, the same people, take them from that environment and take them to the West, take them to London. They know they cannot go around burning churches, burning mosques, and several stuff. Why? There is something ingrained in here that completely adjusts itself to the culture, the whims and caprices, and the laws, rules, and regulation in that sector, and they know to abide by it. Let me move from religion, which is a hot topic, to even simple thing as traffic light. Back home in Nigeria, in Kano State, a typical person doesn't give a hoot. Green light, red light, yellow light means the same thing. They cross the road. Take that same person over to the west, to Cardiff or to Weybridge, where I currently live, and they know by looking that people are not crossing the road, they press a button and they wait. Why is that so? So it's the same thing with the gentleman's question. Fanaticism has been ingrained there, and it's unfortunately what that era is known. Can we change it? It comes through education. It comes through ignorance, lack of ignorance itself. Once people are, you remove that element, and they can see the betterment of how you can actually live. When you go to the south, you can see families. My family is a classic example, being Yoruba. Half of my family is Muslim, the other half is Christian, and they live peacefully. So this is a topic that is very hot to talk about. And Emeka and Larry know me, they're two topics I don't discuss, politics and religion. So I'll stop at that particular point because we could go into hot debate, but a very good, interesting topic.
Yeah, can I make a quick point before we go ahead?
Sure. Well, okay. Charles had a follow-up question, but just go ahead, Larry, after you.
Maybe Charles can make his comment and then I go ahead.
Charles and Idris.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
For me, as I see, I'm partly from Tanzania in East Africa, and I'm now living in Ohio, in Cleveland. But from my experience at home and what I see, the fanaticism, as I see there, is a great block for us as Tanzanians, as Africans, to come together to do something for our own development. We have like bias of religion-wise, I can say. So that is why I've been thinking about if we can get rid of this fanaticism, religious-wise, that will be a help for us as Africans to get along with development.
Thank you. Quickly, the point I wanted to make is in line with what Tom was saying about education. The way religion is right now, whatever that religion is, the practitioners of the religion have taken it to a point where people are not allowed really to think about things the way they should. You can be critical. Otherwise, you'll be seen as not conforming to the norm. So as a people, for those who practice Christianity or Islam or any other religion of that sort, we need to get to a point where we understand really who God is. God is not a magician. And I think to Charles's point, people sometimes believe that they can do things that God is not going to do. There is this thing that is going on now that a lot of people talk about. What God cannot do does not exist. I believe that. But I also believe that what God will not do exists. He is not a magician. There are certain things that God will not do, whether you're Christian or Muslim or whatever it is. And we need to get ourselves to that space. Otherwise, you can't think. You cannot think, you can't innovate. You will just be crippled by the thoughts of, oh, this is what the religion or my whoever the leader is saying. So I agree totally with your question that it can be a hindrance. What can we do to change that? We begin with education. Educate ourselves, educate our kids, because that's the immediate people that we can influence, and then move on from there to other places and other settings. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So just to keep in mind that as Africans, there are multiple religions. Christianity, Islam, traditionalism, Buddhism. There are also people who are agnostic. So just to recognize African Heritage Center, we recognize the different religions, we respect the different religions wherever you are. And yeah, thank you so much for those perspectives. So you have a question, madam?
She clarifies.
Okay. All right, so it's 2:23. You have one more question for our deputy judge. She's my favorite panelist that is wearing a multicolored jacket, a white t-shirt and black pants. So we have a question for you. Or do you want to say something before the question? He has a beautiful question.
Okay, so the question I wanted to ask is, it follows from the earlier question about, items, right? And I just wanted to ask, your experience on a work-wise. Have you come in contact that tension, maybe I'm go and you see someone who looks like you, who you think you should be maybe kind of coordinating with to achieve that goal, and they are more interested in competing with you. How have you navigated that? What's the word that you can talk to people listening to us on how to navigate that kind of situation?
Thank you very much. Excellent question. Short answer, yes. Second short answer, many times. Okay. And then my response to it is what it comes back to what we've all been saying, what Manny said, what Tom said, what Lana said. We have to be intentional about our responses because I'm a teacher's kid, I always say. And my mother always says a couple of things. Bloom where you're planted, practice what you preach. You're either a part of the problem or you're part of the solution. So, in being intentional, I try not to enable people or encourage them when they focus on our differences, right? We are all different, but we have similarities. So that if we're focused more intentional mindset to focus on our similarities, that we're moving in the right direction. For example, I liked that we said learn more about each other, about our African heritage and culture. And how do we do that? If we're all trying to be part of the solution, we start with ourselves, Ministry starts at home. So we start with ourselves. I have asked Michael, tell me how you say hello in Yoruba. And he told me. In Igbo. And I've asked, sorry, Michael, and I've asked other friends, tell me how you say hello in Yoruba. And then I say how I say hello in Jamaica. Wow. Yeah, wow. Yeah, and so we are learning from each other. I know something that I didn't know last week. I know something. I was driving with somebody who is from Ethiopia the other day. He was an Uber driver. And I asked him, tell me something about Ethiopia that I wouldn't learn in a book. And so if we're intentional and we make sure that we are always trying to grow, to learn, to adapt, to change, to be a step further ahead than we were yesterday, then we're not so bogged down by the microaggressions, the animosity, the questioning our capabilities that we see, because we've evolved from fighting those small battles and we're seeing victories in our efforts, right? So I think, yes, I've seen them. I try not to focus on them. I try not to be crippled by them. And I try not to let somebody else's actions or decisions take me to a place where I don't want to go. So I hope that answers the question. So thank you so much for that. So I think
from what you're saying and from what everybody's saying, Farida. Farida, I want all of us, each person to stand up and be proud of who you are. Starting with Farida in her beautiful outfit, and Farida, I know where you. He said, I am a proud Black person. And I want us to stand up and say it. And the reason why I'm saying this is because we have to be intentional. We can talk all the talk, but like I think Olarunwa just said it. It was the action. So if you don't mind, everybody, we've been sitting for a while and we're gonna say it together. Farida has said it already. Farida, tell us again what we say. So let's say it together. I am a proud person. Can we say it again? Person. Thank you. Thank you.
It's just on the same thing. I wanted to throw one last question to the other, our vice chair. If you thought you escaped, now. You thought you got. So, yeah, proud Black person. It's something I came across sometimes about how representation of Black engagement. It matters, I'm sure, like you said. When people who look like you and me come into that courtroom and see me there. I remember one day I signed on to Zoom and the Black person was the registrar. And when I saw their name, I said, well, this could be South African. And when we had a break, I said, Kunjani, shocked. We went on a long South African language. He doesn't realize that only Kunjani was
But it was the
but it was,
acknowledgement.
yeah, it was the
Yeah.
acknowledgement.
Yes.
It was that. So, and I was thinking, is this something that we're talking about being intentional, deliberate, being in your, say, Tesla or the Cybertruck, and you see that Black person 70 buttons. Do you think it has any power, impact? Pause it, just acknowledge them. A nod of the head, a wave of the hand, or what do you think?
It's huge. It's huge.
Well, Elika, I knew that you were Ikeda, I knew that you were a lawyer, and you have the unique way to make everyone get an opportunity to say a word. Well, look.
And why your teacher is calling.
My teacher. My teacher is
Somebody.
well, I think that the main concern we have, because we are African Heritage Center is trying to bring Black people together. Although we are in Ontario, we are getting a lot of concern and complaint. The way we look, the way we speak, sorry, I have a French accent. But I'm afraid that our major concern is because we are not willing or able to answer simple questions. Are we better off? If I was a judge and the court, people will welcome me and say, yes, I'm better off. If I'm a real estate agent and I have the possibility to have more clients and customer complaints, if I do have the opportunity to go back home when the snow was here, few months ago, like Michael, I will fly right away because I'm better off. So sometimes because we are struggling around that patience, we tend to take the sideline and say why should we bother. Of course, if you greet a brother, you feel the way that team teach the kids valid. The simple fact that we find a way to make you happy. This is a step we can use to bridge a gap. So, this being said, African Heritage Center, we have one paper, roundtable connect. We have the opportunity, we will not be able to answer all the questions or address all the concerns, but I'm certain that this conversation will take it over there and we'll be able to address some of them. Thank you again for making me speak.
Thank you. You're my vice chair, so if I want to be presenting the next time, I better make you speak and make you feel good. Okay, it's 2:33 now, and I think we've had our tea break. And at this point, we just want to, I don't know if there was any other question. Idris? I'm learning that Idris had another question. Idris, go ahead.
Thank you. My question is in regard to religion, not about the fanaticism of religion, but rather we can go back in history and see how religion was used in galvanizing Black Americans. Most of the civil rights leaders from 1954 to 68 were led by religious people. Now we find ourselves in a climate that seemed to have regressed in all of our successes from the civil rights era. Even before that, the question I have, or rather, if anyone can just speak to this, is one of the things we have been unable to do is replicate some of these successes with our religious leaders. Case in point, you look at Canada, you can look at England to some degrees, and folks in England can attest to this. The South Asian community have been able to utilize religion to their various successes, from economic to political. However, we as a community have utilized religion in a way where religiously it's enhanced us, but in terms of socioeconomic status, political stance, it has failed us. The one area where most minds meet, the biggest congregation of people of African descent, it's always been in the churches. Outside of the churches, the other areas are perhaps in birthday parties, in other social ceremonies. But when you look at the other communities, it is used in such a way of galvanizing its people to fight for or advocate for political power, which is something that we lack completely. So the question is, how do you think we can utilize religion in a way to mimic the civil rights movement, which that climate is where we are right now, as opposed to the other aspect in which perhaps religion being a personal thing. I heard Tom say, I don't want to go near religion, but it can be used. I mean, it's being used to enrich our spiritual lives, but it's failing us on the other side. Somebody can speak to this. Tom.
Yeah, I knew I was going to be brought into that one, Idris. Nice try. I've been answering your questions on the chat as well. This is a very I'll take 2 minutes to this, Idris. It's a very powerful topic that I think you need a speaker session on its own on this. And let me use this by experience. I'm raised Catholic, but I studied Sharia, and half of my family is Muslim, like I mentioned, and my wife is Jewish. The three revealed religions in the world are Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. There are other forms of religion. Africa, taking Nigeria alone, we've seen 45% split, with the rest traditional. But there are many ethnic groups and there are many religions within Africa itself. If you take Mansa Musa, 14th, 15th century itself, Islam was in that region. He actually moved into Mecca and actually changed the economy of the region as he was going into Mecca. That country almost monopolized the religion in a sense and converted it almost to a cash cow, where everybody, as part of Islam, one of the 5 pillars of Islam, is you have to perform the Hajj within your lifetime if you're able to do so. They're able to use that political, social, economic position of it. Christianity, where is it? It's in the Middle East, where we've got the crisis situation, which is a separate topic to discuss later. But from a Catholic standpoint, it's in Italy, of all places, Rome. In Nigeria, we're a very strong religious community. And I kid you not, the amounts of monies that go into that, I do not want to go into that because that's part of my profession. I don't want to go into the confidential areas where that is used for illicit purposes as well. But to your question, how do you galvanize this? How do you use this not as a weapon per se, but to showcase something linked to religion, linked to our African roots? Religion, from the religions you've quoted, was not what historically was ours. It was brought in from probably the Mary Slessors of the world, the Mungo Parks of the world, the Christian missionaries of the world. But we had our own religions back in the days itself, which will be considered archaic and repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience if we want to go legally. So imagine upholding the voodoo culture that you do see in, is it Cuba and other places
Haiti.
in there, and Haiti. It's known for that. So my question to you, I'm going to flip it, is what religion would you say Nigeria would have as a beacon? It's probably going to be Christianity and Islam, and it's got a strong foundation in the Fulani Sokoto Caliphate areas, and it's well known. But it comes to the gentleman's question of how that is perceived in relation to how we use it almost as a weapon to fighting each other, where we don't see peace amongst the self. The typical no disrespect to the Hausa culture and the Fulani culture and the fact that it's a Muslim side of the world, they take their religion very, very seriously. I studied Sharia in northern Nigeria and BUK. I was the only Christian out of 300 students in that place, and I was forbidden to hold the Quran because it was taboo. But I had to study Islamic law. So I had to do it in the confines of my own house itself. Try doing that in open back in the days. You would either be spoken to, or if you're lucky, you'll not be stoned in there. But I had to study the law itself. It's the same thing with Christianity on the other side. We're not, as with all due respect, violent as you see in the other areas. But take those 2 people and bring them to the West, bring them to the UK, and you see they're as brothers. They're civilized to a certain degree. It's a very, very sensitive topic that I don't think I'll be able to do justice to your question because it's a very academic question. It's for another occasion, and I might probably leave you my number. I need to discuss this with you personally and privately because it's an interesting topic, but a dangerous one. I hope this is not recorded. Oh shoot, it is recorded.
Thank you so much. So today, we're here talking about heritage and excellence of Black people in all aspects of our lives, our work. So I want us to, as we leave today, to remember who we are, our culture, our excellence, regardless of where you come from, what part of the world you come from. As long as you identify as Black, we are together, we are one. Madame, that's something.
It was in response to the chapter Idris's question.
I'll give you 1 minute, because we have to wrap it up. Yeah.
So this is in response to Idris's question regarding how do we energize the churches to get back to the political social movement that was happening around Martin Luther King. I just want to talk about the Canadian limitations of that, and that is back when Harper was the Prime Minister of Canada, he brought in a law, his government brought in a law that prohibited churches from engaging in political works. And if you did step outside of your very limited description of your mission, according to your constitution, you could have your charitable tax status removed. And so, you know, that gave a real chill factor to any kind of organizing in order to come together, in order to test or to form a political bloc. So we have to keep, that's where the African Heritage Center and like centers, because we've got the African Caribbean Canadian Association in Hamilton, that's their role. That's where we can come in, come together, talk about the issues and find a collective response to the problems that we're facing in this society. So the church is limited, but the center is wide open for stuff like that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, you know me, Nene, Ikenna, you know Marsha, what's your name? Oh. You know, yes, you know my name. Swana, we have Botswana in the house. Nigerian, I can tell. You know Theodore, but we don't know where it's from. Hey, in the house, we're not. Sabeku, we're not. Everyone, like that. And fun game.
Nigerian and Barbados.
Oh, wow. Barbados. Barbados. Nigerian. Zambia in the house.
Nigeria.
So, this is also far away from, tell us.
Canada.
The reason why we're doing
Sorry,
this.
what did she say? What did Frida say?
The reason why we're doing this is so that we all recognize that there's a diversity of strong Black people in the room. So to round off, where's Marsha? Oh, it's okay. So we're going to play the video about our wonderful African Heritage Center. So you have an idea of what we have planned. And then
The vision of an African Heritage Center in Ontario, Canada. We are people of African descent. We are a diverse and vibrant community, transcending more than a continent. Our roots trace back to Africa, and our presence is felt across Africa, the Caribbean, the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, Europe, North and South America, and globally. Our vision is to build an African Heritage Center in Ontario, Canada, which will serve as a rallying point for all peoples of African descent, fostering unity, pride, purpose, and empowerment through various impactful programs. The African Heritage Center aims to unite our people through leadership, stewardship, and empowerment by providing a platform to celebrate, motivate, and address issues affecting peoples of African descent. We recognize significant contributions of African descendants to the development of nations worldwide and emphasize the importance of continuing to thrive and participate in decision-making processes within our communities. The center will be a multipurpose complex showcasing our heritage and achievement through our own narratives. It will serve as a beacon for future generations, offering insight into our history and guiding them towards a promising future. The facility will include a youth center, which will promote programs to empower our youth in leadership, education, technology, governance, skilled trades, IT, and career choices. A senior center and dedicated space for our elders to engage and connect. Art galleries and museums showcasing contemporary African history and art, banquet halls and office rentable spaces for community events and businesses, shopping and dining spaces for restaurants and retail outlets celebrating African culture. Hotel accommodation with comfortable lodging for our guests, patrons, and visitors. An essential DNA center, helping individuals trace their roots and discover their African heritage. Sports facilities, including a swimming pool and indoor courts for global sporting events. Cinema and performing art theaters, spaces for film screenings and live performances. Outdoor grounds and pavilions, perfect for weddings, festivals, and other celebrations. This grand vision requires collective effort. By coming together, we can overcome individual challenges and become stronger as a unified community. The African Heritage Centre in Ontario will be a home for all, paving the way for similar centres worldwide. We invite you to join us on this journey, so visit our website at africanheritagecentre.org for more information about our vision and programs. Follow us on social media for updates and contact us at board@africanheritagecentre.org for any inquiries. Thank you for supporting Building a Brighter Future for peoples of African descent everywhere.
Like, with us to our various organizations.
We don't have any in-house pamphlets or anything like that, but you can definitely go to the website and you can share that information. Okay. So welcome back. I hope you all enjoyed the video that you just saw. This is the vision that we are trying to raise, and we really want your support. We need your support. Now, also, we want you to participate in our programs. Two special programs that we have is the African Heritage Center Roundtable Connect, which is scheduled every quarter. So please go to the website, you'll get more information on that, as well as our community outreach program, Community Connect in the park. In the summer, anyhow, we're working on the name, so please bear with us. Definitely stay connected. Go to the website, go to our social media. We will always have promotions well in advance, so you know what is coming up and what is there for you to stay tuned to. So thank you once again, and I'll turn over to So there's something, so we're rounding up now, but there's something very important that Mo was talking about outside, and I think it's important that we know this. So those of us from Africa, we take things for granted. So Mo, if you can just share in about 2 minutes, just what you were saying outside, it's very important.
I just feel that as African people, we forget that the shoulders that we stand on here in Canada and North America. I feel like I don't have an identity in Canada. What is my identity? We're all African, right? So where do we go? Like, how do we include that and recognize that part? Where is my identity? We need to recognize that and together and bring up the community so that heritage is not lost. Like, what is cultural food? Like, if we're all Afro-Canadian, like, I don't know, right? So we need to be inclusive and respectful to the elders that we stand on their shoulders here in Canada. I feel, I see it in my community a lot with a lot of my elders. They just walk away and our voices are quiet. And there's less and less of us. Like in this space right here, I from my community, I would only see my elder from my church here. But, so I feel like we're fewer and fewer. So just be mindful that, you know, yeah, we all are Black, but bring each other up, right? And let's not forget, and let's help those other people to know where they're from and what cultural food is, and, you know, the history. Let's just be respectful of everybody, bring everybody. Yeah.
Can I respond to that?
So, can you tell us your community?
I'm Vulcan House and Maureen, and I'm from Stewart Memorial Church in Hamilton, Ontario.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you. So African Heritage Center, you have your work cut out for you. Michael, I'm looking at you. Oh, you're writing it down, okay. Marsha, I'm looking at you. Board members, Statio, Franklin, Matthew, I'm looking at all of you. Because what she said is really, really key. Like Miss Evie said earlier, we have to, they've forgotten something, so we need to bring it back. For Rita, for all the other youth that are here, please, very important. Michael,
Can I respond to that in 60 seconds, please?
Yes, and then Michael will take us out. Michael, here, microphone. Yeah, go on, please, go on.
Yeah, so the speaker that just finished, I think actually I'm going to steal from Michael and Larry in terms of an organization that we all co-founded and run. It begins with you, and it begins with a lady. It begins with me in terms of understanding where we are from. And actually your A-lister actors, Idris Elba, Samuel L. Jackson, you can see that they actually wanted to know where their roots were, and they traced it. And with modern technology today, with DNA evidence, it's good for us to be able to know where we come from. And it's something, again, I still go back to the Jewish people. It's something that's ingrained in them in wanting to go back to their lands. Now, I mean, different with regards to that and apolitical with currently what's happening. But for Africa, I'm a passionate person in the sense that we have been so separated in our cultural heritage in the African continent for generations and for centuries, that to pay reparation for that, honestly, is going to bankrupt certain countries in the world that we're part and parcel of that. How we prove that you have not broken us is by our children and our children's children tracing their roots back to where they actually came from in Africa. And I think it's key. And I hope the organization that you create and the building that you do eventually build in, I'm going to say something tongue in cheek, I might be arrested for it. I hope and pray that you put in all the 55 countries in there, plus all the Caribbean countries in there for people to learn, because a country like Lesotho, for example, which a certain president says he doesn't know, is a country that exists in Africa, one of the 55 countries. And we need to be able to showcase all the cultures that these countries have, which will be lost if somebody does not do it.
Thank you so much, everyone. As we wrap up today, let's step down. I've been at so many meetings and so many events where we talk and then we forget. But we need to walk the talk to not respond. We need to action these points. And this vision, we wrote it down and we're running with it. It's not going to be an easy journey. I like what Larry said when he said, you don't have to wait for a physical building to begin to reach the gap. And to our brothers and our sisters from Stewart Church in Hamilton, we're going to reach out to you guys directly from today before we end today. And we're going to ask you to visit your church and your community. We'd like you to be part of this journey, even if we have to come to Hamilton. You know, Black people bring color. We don't wear see our clothes, and we bring food, we bring music, and we bring joy. We're hospitable, we're kind, even when it's difficult. You know, that not to, you know, I don't know if you ladies know it, but we actually meant not to each other, Black men. When we see each other, we do this, and you see that acknowledgement. And one time I said to myself, I'm going to say hello to every black person I see, even if they don't say hello back to me. You know, we have to, I see my sister from Botswana. I love Botswana. People don't know about Botswana as much as they know about South Africa. But Botswana is such a beautiful place. And you know, when we started this, we actually said, even our leaders in Africa, it's not about telling them what they're not doing, it's to show them that we can do better. So thank you so much, everybody, for coming today. Let's not forget, and let's not be about talking. Let this be about doing. We invite you again to please, everybody online, follow us on social media, like us, share this journey. Link us up with people you know that we should be talking to. Our brothers and sisters are making strides here, but we all have to come together. Thank you very much for a wonderful event today. Thank you. That's it. Okay, thank you everyone.
Of African descent, we are a diverse and vibrant community transcending more than a continent. Our roots trace back to Africa, and our presence is felt across Africa, the Caribbean, the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, Europe, North and South America, and globally. Our vision is to build an African Heritage Center in Ontario, Canada, which will serve as a rallying point for all peoples of African descent, fostering unity, pride, purpose, and empowerment through various impactful programs. The African Heritage Center aims to unite our people through leadership, stewardship, and empowerment by providing a platform to celebrate, motivate, and address issues affecting peoples of African descent. We recognize significant contributions of African descendants to the development of nations worldwide and emphasize the importance of continuing to thrive and participate in decision-making processes.
Let me get the people outside.
The center will be a multi-purpose complex showcasing our heritage and achievement through our own narratives. It will serve as a beacon for future generations, offering insight into our history and guiding them towards a promising future. The facility will include a youth center, which will promote programs to empower our youth in leadership, education, technology, governance, skilled trade, IT, and career choices. A senior center and dedicated space for our elders to engage and connect. Art galleries and museums showcasing contemporary African history and art. Banquet halls and office rentable spaces for community events and businesses. Shopping and dining spaces for restaurants and retail outlets celebrating African culture. Hotel accommodation with comfortable lodging for our guests, patrons, and visitors. An essential DNA center, helping individuals trace their roots and discover their African heritage. Sports facilities, including the swimming pool and indoor courts for global sporting events. Cinema and performing art theaters, spaces for film screenings and live performances. Outdoor grounds and pavilions, perfect for weddings, festivals, and other celebrations. This grand vision, we can overcome individual challenges and become stronger as a unified community.
Somebody can sit here, please. Somebody else.
I found your phone.
Sorry, I found you. Your name is in my mouth.
Can I stand here?
Honestly, we folks online are feeling very, very not part of this. No, don't worry. I'll come there next year. Don't worry. I'll be there next year in person.
Absolutely. Sure, be on the same level.
Yeah, that one. No, the one that, yeah.
Idris, I can see you're still online.
I am. How are you, Tom?
I'm okay, sir.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to taking this convo outside because
I'm trying to see. Idris, do you have a?
Are we okay? You can't see us.
Let me see. I'll send you my number if that's okay. I would love to definitely take this conversation.
Definitely. I hear one of the things that echo the most. It's about being very, very pro Africa, which is great. That's where I'm at. I just hope we've had, as a continent, we've had two episodes recently for a reset, especially amongst our leadership. COVID was one, where we saw clearly where some things were happening. Then currently, with this current administration, which most suspected, it's giving us another opportunity for a reset, because it's all about protectionism right now. It's all about looking out for yours. The only continent where that isn't happening, except with a few countries, say Niger, Burkina Faso.
Yes. Yes.
And I believe
Sorry.
there are
Sorry,
about three of them that are very Afrocentric. The rest of the leadership are just brilliant. Then South Africa, hoping for Julius Malema to win.
And Rwanda.
And Rwanda. You know, but these are the very small countries.
Yeah.
Not until it happens in Nigeria, South Africa, perhaps, you know, if you want to include Egypt.
And really Morocco to a certain degree.
We can move this. So I think Trump administration is giving us the opportunity. Yeah.
Let me see if I can. I'm tempted to put it on the chat here, but I don't want my private number with everyone. Let me see.
If
do
you
you have a
send
pen
it
and
to
paper?
me, yeah. I do right here.
Okay, so +44.
Tell us.
7.
Say that again.
I think they're taken. So it's +44.
Yeah.
777 619 59 69
61959
69.
69.
Yeah. Can you repeat it, sir?
44 777 619 5969.
Correct. And just let me know when, and then we can take this conversation to a different. I love the academic discourse.
Are you on
Brilliant.
WhatsApp?
Yes, sir, I am, and also on LinkedIn. So I don't do social media at all. I only do LinkedIn and the phone. I am not into this world of social media at all.
We'll definitely add it and flip your message soon.
A pleasure, sir. It's been an absolute